We play and call it work.
Hey folks, Janene from MiniWarGaming here with another how-to video for you. In this video, we are going to paint the teeth on this Death Guard Plague Marine's belt, and we are going to do a brown, dirty tooth look that's a little bit lighter than the rest of the bone on the armor, but still has kind of similar colors. As always, if you have suggestions for something you'd like to see in a future how-to video, please leave them down below in the comments. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to base coat all of these teeth with a dark brown. We're going to use the color Scrag Brown. We're mixing it with Lamy Medium, and we're going to do that with all of our colors except for the shades that we use later. And we're just going to paint this all over all of these bony teeth. This color we want to get into all of the recesses because it's going to be our shadow and the gaps between the teeth. And we want to get it right up to the gum line that we just painted. Since this is going to be our base color, we want to make sure that we get a really nice solid color. And if that means doing 2 thin coats, then that's totally fine. We just want to make sure that we get a really nice saturated brown. And then one technique I sometimes like to use is I will paint the areas that I need to keep clean with a finer detail brush. And then I will switch to a larger brush to paint the rest of the area so that I get more coverage and it goes a little bit faster while still maintaining a really clean look and not slopping over onto any of the other areas. Our next color is going to be Bestigor Flesh, and we're going to paint this over the top of all of these teeth, leaving that darker brown in the gaps between them. And also we're going to leave that darker brown in some of the deeper recesses that are sculpted into these teeth right near the gum line. We want to make sure that we don't lighten that area too much, so it really exaggerates the fact that these teeth are kind of jagged and broken and have texture to them. We're also going to leave a tiny section of the tooth that's right next to the gum line unpainted, so that we have a really dark shadow between those 2 areas. Our next color is going to be Flayed One Flesh. You could also use Ushapti Bone for this step. However, I chose Flayed One Flesh just so it kind of melds with some of the colors that I've put on the model already, and they kind of match together. And I'm going to be painting this over about 60% of the Bestigor Flesh color, and I'm mainly going to be concentrating it on the very tips of these teeth. And having the brightness on the very tip is going to really exaggerate how sharp and jagged they are and really make that part stand out the most. And while I'm mainly concentrating on the tips of the teeth, I also want to make sure that I highlight a small section of the very front as well. Our next highlight is going to be with Screaming Skull. This is a super highlight, and this is really just going on the very tip. Unlike the previous color, we're not necessarily worried about brightening the tooth at all. We're really just bringing a focal point to the very tip of the teeth and making them look really sharp and really brutal. Next, I want to pick out the maggots. There's one in the mouth and then one that's just above the belt. I'm going to paint these with the color Averland Sunset. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. I'm just going to do a really quick paint scheme to make sure that they stand out from the rest of the teeth. And then we're going to take a little bit of Athonian Camo Shade, which I apologize for not getting that pot on camera, but that's the color we're using for this step. And we're going to apply this over the top of the maggots and also in all of the gaps of the teeth. It's just going to tint the shadows. It's going to bring out some of the details on the maggots. It's going to darken everything and kind of homogenize it with the rest of the colors of the armor. Athonian Camo Shade is also a really good shadow for this particular model because it's got a little bit of an unhealthy green tint to it. So it's just going to make everything look more nurgly and gross. I do want to make sure that I just put this in the gaps between the teeth because I don't want to dull down the brightness at all. I just want to give this a little bit more of a shadow without necessarily losing that bright jagged look that I've just created, because I do want these teeth to look a little bit brighter than the rest of the bone on the model. And once that Athonian Camo Shade has dried, the teeth on the belt of this Death Guard Plague Marine are complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more how-to videos, I have another one where I'm going to paint the face on this Death Guard Plague Marine. in the MiniWarGaming Vault in the link down below in the description. If you don't already have a Vault membership, you can go ahead and click the link, sign up for a 7-day free trial, and get access to my video, as well as hundreds of other videos in the MiniWarGaming Vault. So go ahead, click the link, start your free trial, and happy wargaming!